Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Aarti Industries Limited Q1 FY22 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I would now like to hand the conference over to Ms. Shruti Joshi from CDR India. Thank you and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Janet. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Aarti Industries Q1 FY22 earnings conference call. We have with us today on this call Mr. Rajendra Gogri, Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Rashesh Gogri, Vice Chairman and Managing Director, and Mr. Chetan Gandhi, CFO of Aarti Industries. Before we begin the call, I would like to point out that some of the statements made in today's call may be forward-looking in nature, and a disclaimer to this effect has been included in the results presentation shared with you. I would now like to invite Mr. Rajendra Gogri to talk about the performance of the company and his outlook on the business. We will then open the forum for Q&A. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening and very warm welcome to all of you attending the call. I hope all of you and your families are in good health. We hope to see the government's vaccination drive bring about mass immunity and the country coming out stronger after a very tough phase. I trust that all would have received the Q1 FY22 results presentation that has been uploaded on the stock exchange website earlier today. First, a review of our financial performance. As you have seen, we have started the year on a strong note. Our revenues crossed rupees 1,500 crore during the first quarter, which was up by 45% on a YOY basis. As this is a significant jump, we are currently monitoring our performance more on a quarterly basis, as the first quarter of the previous financial year had a significant impact of the pandemic on production and operation. In this context, we are happy to report about 12% revenue expansion over the preceding quarter, that is compared to Q4 FY21. During the quarter, there was a sharp increase in raw material prices, fuel prices and logistic costs, which also contributed to the increase in top line over the quarter. Q1 EBITDA of rupees 314 crore is also higher by 20% compared to Q4, led by increased utilization of capacities and value addition in the product mix. During the quarter, we have witnessed rupee depreciate by about 1.2 versus US dollars. This resulted in a mark-to-market loss for ECB, which has been the cause for the rise in the finance cost by over rupees 13 crore for the quarter. Our profit after tax came in at rupees 165 crore, up 21% over Q4, doubling the level achieved in Q1 FY21. But the top line and EBITDA in the reported quarter are our highest ever in history. Thus, we have successfully extended the growth momentum achieved in the second half of FY21. Continued volume expansion in the specialty chemical business has reflected in top line and EBITDA growth for the segment. Pass on of the higher input costs and logistics also contributed to the surge in top line for the segment. These factors resulted in the top line growth of about 50% on YOY basis and about 12% in QOQ basis for the segment. We have seen return of demand from established market to almost pre-COVID levels, and in some cases it has surpassed the pre-COVID demand volume. That are clearly driving improved EBIT. Segment EBIT of rupees 237 crore for Q1 FY22 portrays a growth of about 13% on QOQ and about 85% on YOY basis. As you are aware, we have a pricing model wherein the variation on raw materials are passed on to the customers. Thus, the better way to look at our performance is a change in absolute EBIT. Income in this business segment includes recognition of about $4.5 million in Q1 from the shortfall fees in respect to the first long-term contract. Now for the Q1 production update, production for nitrochlorobenzene was at 18,155 metric tons compared to 13,070 metric tons a year back. Similarly, for hydrogenated products, we have achieved production of 2,920 metric tons compared to 2,050 metric tons last year. On the nitrotoluene front, the production for Q4 was 3,440 metric tons compared to 2,140 metric tons in the same quarter. We operated about over 80 to 85% capacity utilization across our established location and expect to deliver steady performance improvement going forward as new facilities scale up volume. Our pharma business grew by 17% YOY to rupees 240 crores during Q1 and by 7% over Q4. The business continues to maintain growth momentum based on higher utilization facilities that are driving volume. EBIT of the pharma segment for Q1 FY22 was rupees 48 crores, which was fairly similar to the EBIT of for Q4 FY21. In Q1, there was some impact on margin due to higher inventory of the final product, which could not be shipped due to logistic issues. Further business visibility in pharma is based on higher volume from regulated market, value-added products, and new introduction of intermediate products. As you would know, we are currently implementing additional capacity for APIs and intermediates that are expected to be operational in the second half of FY22. We expect volume expansion to be supported by robust margins in this segment based on a pipeline of approvals that strengthen our position in the therapies such as anti-hypertensive, cardiovascular, oncology, and corticosteroids. Now an update on capital expenditure. We have incurred capex of rupees 295 crore in the first quarter against the annual plan capex of about rupees 1500 crore. At present, we also have several other capital investment projects in pipeline. This includes expansion of US FDA capacity at the API unit located at Tarapur and at the intermediate unit at Vapi. Set up a production unit for the second long-term contract at Dahej SEZ, for the third long-term contract at Jagadia, and the NCB capacity expansion at Vapi, expansion cum asset upgradation for our acid unit at Vapi, amongst various other projects which are underway. As guided last time, we are also undertaking growth projects driven by R&D and innovation. This includes new value chains to be introduced, for instance, the chlorotoluene value chain. Existing value chain expansion by addition of new products and chemistry, additional contract manufacturing opportunity being explored, manufacturing outsourcing and strategic alliance opportunities, setting up of UMPP, expansion of existing pharma products and introduction of new pharma API and intermediates. With the addition of new chemistry and value-added products, our objective is to launch 40 plus products for chemical and 50 plus products for pharma, driving growth beyond FY25. This initiative provides a blueprint of growth over the near-term horizon till FY24 as well as for the longer-term horizon till FY27. This project entails an investment of about 4,500 to 5,000 crores over the next 3 years. To augment various needs, the company had raised a growth capital by way of QIP of rupees 1,200 crores in the month of June 2021. The issue was oversubscribed with good quality institutional investors laying their confidence on our growth plan. The issue was closed with the participation of long-term investors, accounting for over 70% of the issue, of which FIIs had larger share. Thus, to summarize, we have a golden era of opportunity for the growth of Indian chemical and pharmaceutical industry and also to enhance its share in the global market. We remain committed to work on this opportunity and drive on the growth journey which we have guided you during the last call. In FY22, we remain enthused about the prospects of the business supported by increasing utilization of recently commercialized facilities, that is additional chlorination capacity, Jagadia and Phase 2 unit at Dahej SEZ and other projects to be commissioned this year. Based on this visibility, we reiterate our top line and bottom line growth of 25 to 35% for FY22. With that, I conclude my opening comments and we will open the floor for the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Naushad Chaudhary from Systematic Shares. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. A couple of questions. Firstly, just wanted to understand on our second long-term contract, I believe it was expected in 1Q FY21 and we are almost 1 year delay in this project. And so just wanted to understand, is it because from delays because of from our side or because the client is expecting us to get a delay, and will there be any cost overrun in terms of overall capex which was required for this project? I think earlier it was 300 crore rupees. So will there be any addition because of the recent commodity inflation?
Yeah, I think this project was mainly impacted by the first wave of COVID last year and also the second wave in this year. That is the main reason. And obviously the demand was also impacted globally. And now we are targeting to commission this plant in the second half of this year. And there is no significant cost escalation for this project.
Okay. And secondly, on the chlorination plant, this 65,000 capacity addition, I believe it was primarily for our for the requirement of our first long-term contract project, which already got cancelled. So if you can, help us understand how are we planning to ramp up this capacity, and we have already experienced 2 quarters for this capacity. So where are we now, and how are we planning to ramp up this?
Yeah, no, this will be because, as you rightly mentioned, the cancellation of the first contract has impacted the production for this products. But we see progressively volume growing in this plant in the second half of this year also, and going forward in the next year. For this, as we had mentioned earlier also, that we will be making the same product, and major sales will be started from FY23.
Okay, so the strategy would be to use it captively, and the left out would be sold in open market. Will it be?
Yes.
Okay. And lastly, then I'll come back in queue. In terms of our overall gross block, which has in last 2 years we have added around 1,800 crore rupees of in our gross block, plus as of March 21 we had around 1,200 crore rupees of working capital. So total around 3,100 crore rupees of investment we have made in last 2 years. Just if you can quickly give us a breakup of this 3,100 crore rupees of amount which we have invested. So broadly we have we have some projects in mind, but there is I think 600-700 crore rupees of capex which I was not able to find out. So if you can broadly give us a breakup of this 3,100 crore rupees.
So you're looking at the previous 2 years
Yeah. So I think chlorination, NCB, PDA, and some 75 crore rupees in R&D. Then we had 150 crore rupees of Jagadia land, and then in all your three
pharma capex, which will be around 150 odd crore, where we are adding the capacity for both the US FDA plant as well. So that is also there.
Yeah, so let's calculate it this way. 1,000 crore rupees we invested in chlorination, 150 crore rupees in NCB. There was some 70-80 crore rupees in PDA, then 75 crore rupees in R&D. And
You're mixing a lot of numbers. Can we take it up separately? Because
yeah, we'll take it offline.
We'll take it up separately.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. I'll come back in queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohan Gupta from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Good evening, and congratulations on this set of numbers. Sir, two queries and a question. Sir, first is on if you can give a breakup for the volume and price-led growth in the current quarter on Y-on-Y basis, sir.
Yeah, especially for the volume growth on a QOQ basis is about 9 to 10%.
It's on Q-on-Q basis.
Yeah.
Okay. But sir, we have seen that benzene has seen a sharp increase in prices, almost more than 50 to 70% prices have gone up. Even there has been significant amount of increases happening Q-on-Q basis as well. So is that not reflective in terms of revenue growth, in terms of pricing, sir? If you can just give clarification on that.
No, so revenue growth is higher. Revenue growth in specialty chemical is almost 20% QOQ.
Yeah, that only, sir, leads to 10% price increase, price-led growth, correct?
And the rest is by the volume growth.
But the raw material price increase has been much sharper and much faster in the current quarter. So, and the prices of benzene continue to remain there. So just wanted to understand that, do you see that the price-led growth was muted in the current quarter and more so will be happening in a subsequent quarter?
Now, basically, there is a lot of value addition also, and benzene is one of the raw materials. So there are other raw materials also, and a lot of value addition comes in. So,
okay. So second question is on our long-term contract. So So now we have already got the QIP money and we have already solid balance sheet. Just wanted to understand, sir, you have been looking this long-term contract from almost last 3 to 4 years since our first QIP raise. But so far now we have only been able to seal 2 large contracts and 1 small contract. Unfortunately, one of them has been cancelled. So just wanted to understand and know more. Are we looking for such more long-term contracts, and are we in negotiation with the customer with any closed deals which we can expect over next 1 year? Now we already have a sufficient, strong balance sheet to fill this kind of contract. So just wanted to know, in terms of long-term contract perspective, how the business scenario is ramping up, sir.
Yeah, no, we had given this detail of these 3 contracts on public domain based on the SEBI regulation. But we have been having this contract, some 3-year contract rolled over 5 times, some 4, 5, 6-year old contracts also in past also, and also been happening in last 2, 3 years also, which have not been gone in public domain. But we continue to engage with the customers, and we see that more such large contracts also happening, and some of them may come in public domain also.
So you want to say, sir, that there is a change in the communication strategy from the company. Like earlier, you have mentioned these contracts, long-term contracts in the public domain, but right now probably the company wants to continue with the focus on growth and discussing on a quarterly numbers rather than publicizing any such long-term contract which we win. Is that so?
No, basically, no. The smaller tenure or the value we have not been putting in public domain. Whereas, when a significant larger domain tenure and value comes, we'll be putting those in public domain. So we'll have a mix of both actually, which is a continuous phenomenon.
Sir, my question was more on that line only, sir. So it's being almost 3 years back that we have won this kind of long-term contract, and since then, though the industry scenario has been improving a lot, but we haven't heard anything in terms of a large size contract won by the company. However, that some other industry players have got some long-term contracts and large contracts. I just wanted to understand more on that why. So when the industry scenario is so favorable, we have a solid balance sheet, but in last 3 years we haven't heard much about these long-term contracts. And while 3 years back we were very positive about winning many such contracts in the future. So just wanted to understand, is the industry scenario is changing, or we are not too much interested in winning this long-term contract, or the customers have many other opportunities or probably many options to give this large contract to someone else?
No. Basically, as I mentioned, the already ongoing discussions are there. And same way, because of the COVID, I think virtually you have to forget at least 1 year from the calendar. Because globally the demands were significantly impacted for a lot of items. So that has also resulted in delay in investment because of COVID. Everybody was more trying to manage the existing business rather than going for an further investment and demand. So I think that is also one of the reasons that we have not announced any significantly large contract. But definitely going forward, I think it will happen.
So sir, should we hope that over next 1.5 years, the pandemic scenario is getting subsided now, we can expect and we can hear some large contracts won by the company over next 1.5 years to 2 years? Are you in advanced stages of any such discussion?
Yeah, that is our endeavor. Basically, these things, we cannot announce till it actually happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we are not preempting, sir. I am just saying that are we in advanced stages of any discussion which we may expect over next 1.5 years to 2 years, and such large contracts, can we expect any such of that thing?
No, such forward-looking, definitive statement we cannot make, but I think that processes are on.
Fine, sir. Sir, I may have some follow-up questions. We'd like to come back in case.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I'll come back in you for the follow-up.
Sure. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Surya Patra from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks for this opportunity, sir. Congratulations for the good set of numbers. So my first question is on the relating to the first contract, and because of which we are every quarter building kind of a $5 million as additional income. So I'm just trying to understand, is this to just cover the kind of underutilized cost of the new plant, which has been created at around 400 odd crores? Is it just sufficient to cover all those overheads of that new plant, or it is much below the potential fixed cost a plant of this size could be having?
No, it is definitely actually more than the fixed cost.
Exactly.
The EBITDA also is covered.
So you were saying there is some impact in the margins because of the uncovered overheads in the first contract means the plan for the first contract that has been created. You are saying that is that right, sir?
Yeah, it is more than the fixed expenses. This fees are larger than the fixed expenses.
Okay. But is it possible to quantify means to what extent there is a kind of a pressure on the margin because of the plant which is not getting utilized currently? That is one. And secondly, relating to that only, I'm just trying to understand. See, despite we being one of the most integrated players there, still we would not have seen much progress on that plant front. So is it because the plant is currently with validation, customer means a validation phase, or it is a validation by the customers? Is that kind of phase currently going on, and possibly we could see a ramp up in that facility?
Yeah, basically currently on a validation, and the ramp up will happen in that from the second half of this year and also in FY23 and FY24.
Okay. So when you mentioned about a kind of a peak potential out of this plant by FY23, so do you think that, okay, we will capture almost like optimal utilization of this plant?
Not in FY23, it will be more in FY24.
Sure. Okay. So that is my first point. Second is that did you see any kind of impact because of the COVID wave 2 in implementing your this multi-year projects? So I think the capex for the second contract and capex for the third both are currently under various stages of implementation. So did you see any impact because of the COVID-2? And hence whether the timeline of commercializing those projects are getting impacted?
Yeah, I know this second wave, as you know, was a very, very ferocious.
Correct.
So our effort was mainly to keep our operations running. And there, we were very fairly good success we had. But the projects across the board at various locations were impacted. And the project timeline is extended virtually for all the projects.
Okay. So what would be the revised timeline, sir, for commercializing these two second and third project at this juncture that we are thinking about?
The second contract, it will be mostly, we are targeting Q3. And the third contract is, we are currently targeting Q4.
Okay. So not much difference in terms of timeline that what we had earlier mentioned then.
Yeah, it is similar, but might get maybe one quarter push off. We are targeting to do it in Q3 and Q4. But maybe some stabilization may take longer time.
Sure. Okay. Sir, one more thing about the cost elevation situation that we are seeing generally for the industry. So, do we need to worry about the kind of a higher logistic cost and higher input cost and possibly the extended underutilized assets that we will be having for our new projects? So how should we really see in terms of those impacting the margin in next 1 year period or so, or till the time the impact of COVID would be there?
No, the raw material cost, we have a pass-through model which we have been highlighting.
Yes.
And as far as the ocean freight cost is concerned, also because it's a very, very known global phenomenon, substantial portion of the ocean freight increase we have been able to pass on to the customers. Somewhere, some place we also have to bear that ocean freight cost. Other impact which is there is also coal price also significantly increased. So that is where some impact will come on us also. But overall, generally, we have been able to pass on the raw material and the freight to the customer.
Okay. Just last one clarification, sir. In this quarter, whether any inventory gain is there this quarter, either because of the specialty side or because of pharma side, and any specific reason that you are witnessing a kind of larger inventory situation for pharma?
No, as we mentioned that this container availability has become a big issue. So logistics, there are two impacts. One is also on actual exports and also the price increase. So there is a lot of accumulation of finished goods inventory for both specialty chemical as well as pharma. And so that's why the inventory gain against the inventory gain because of the raw price increase. Part of that is offset by increased finished goods inventory. And also some of the raw material cost increase happens with a quarterly lag. So overall, inventory impact is not significant.
Okay. Sure, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Aditya Khetan from Steven & Mackertich. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir, and thanks for the opportunity. So my first question is that in the opening remarks also, and continuing with the earlier participant's question, it was highlighted that in pharmaceutical business, some of the high-cost product inventory which could not be shipped, that has led to decline in margin. So has there been issue, has been solved, or are you still facing shortage of container and higher freight cost?
No, that issue has been solved. So basically, there has been lag in dispatches of products, particularly going to US and Latin America, as the container availability have really become an issue. But and also, but I think in July we were able to.
Okay. So also we were already guiding for additional capacities for expansion in the APIs and the intermediates business, which we are expecting to be operational in the second half of this fiscal year. So if you can highlight just a brief, so how much capacity are we increasing here? Just a ballpark number of capacity increase.
Yeah, basically, in terms of we have started one manufacturing block where we have added around 150 kg of capacity already has started in last one. In API, we are adding one additional block. So that will get started in second half of this year. So that will add significant capacity. And also, various other debottlenecking expansions are also underway in API facility, which will arise in the second half of this year. So overall, I think our capacity of API manufacturing will almost be 50 to 75% more depending on the product mix that we operate.
Okay, so 150K you mentioned in the intermediate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My third question is on the second contract of 10,000 crores. I believe there we have already have a tie with the customer. So ramping to peak utilization should happen by only in a year.
Yes, that ramp up.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir, your voice has gone, sir.
Hello?
There was slight disturbance. You may please go ahead now.
Yeah, that in couple of years there will be a full ramp up of that plant.
Okay, so by FY24 you mean to say, or by FY23? Because we already have a tie-up with the customer, so I don't think it should take more than a year. So you're guiding by FY24. That's what
By FY23 itself we'll have a structure in place. By FY23 itself we'll have a full.
Okay, so for the first contract which was terminated, so there it would take around by FY24.
Yes.
Okay. So just one last question, sir. Again, this was asked earlier. So the gross margin contraction, if you look on a sequential basis, it is quite small. That is only 14 basis points. Despite we have seen some sharp increase in the major raw material prices like benzene. So we definitely understand that. So there has been some. So the finished product price increase has been significant. That has led to offset to some of the major raw material price increase, or exactly like what has happened that has led to not sharp decline in the gross margin in this quarter.
Now we have this raw material pass through. So a lot of raw material prices increase gets passed on to the same quarter to the customer. And also because of the higher volume, which is also benefited to give a little more margin. So one is the raw material pass through, and another is the volume growth also. So that's why the impact on margin is less.
Okay, so similar quarter only we can pass on, because earlier we used to guide that we have take a lag of 3 to 6 months, then we should have passed on. But now we can pass it on 1 to 2 months only, like you mean to say.
No, the local pass is on to the same month itself virtually. But export, some of the passing on happens with a quarterly lag, and that continues to be there also now.
Okay. Sir, just one last question, sir. If you can again repeat the volume numbers for the quarter, I actually missed because the commentary was quite sharp, was quite fast by the management. So I was not able to write the volume numbers. Please, if you can repeat it again.
Yeah, about 9 to 10% volume growth QOQ in specialty chemicals.
Individually, if you can highlight for nitrotoluene, for NCB.
Yeah. That number, Chetan can give the numbers.
So nitrochlorobenzene, the volume was 18,150 plus metric tons. For nitrotoluene, it was 3,440.
Okay. And for hydrogenation?
Hydrogenation, we would be.
Excuse me, sir. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but your audio is not very audible, sir. Requesting you to please speak a bit louder.
Yeah. So I'll just repeat the nitrochlorobenzene. The volumes was 18,155. Nitrotoluene was 3,440, and the hydrogenation was 2,920.
And PDA, sir?
PDA, we would have got a run rate of 570 tons per month. Over 570 tons per month.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'll join back in.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chetan Thakkar from ASK Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. So just wanted to clarify one thing. Our long-term contract will start contributing in FY23 now, and there won't be any meaningful contribution in 22. That understanding is correct?
No, this second contract will be commissioned in the second half of this year. So some benefit will come in this year also, but it will not be significant.
Okay. So large part will happen in 23. That will be a fair understanding for both the contracts.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohan Gupta from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. So once again, thank you for your follow-up opportunity. Sir, it was mainly on this contract 1 and contract 2 only. So first, some clarity on this contract 1, on this dicamba intermediate. Last con call, you mentioned that you are looking for some open opportunities or customers, open market customers to sell these intermediates which otherwise we were supposed to supply to there. Any breakthrough on that, sir? You were expected to start producing this plant at almost 15 to 20% capacity utilization for FY22. Any breakthrough on getting the customer for that, sir?
Basically, that major volumes we have to start on FY23 onwards.
But I was saying that are we started getting customers for that? I mean, I understand
we are already in touch with the customer, and some volume will start in this year, but the major volume will come in FY23.
And so these customers, I believe, will be open market or global players, or with them also we will be having some kind of annual arrangement in terms of offtake.
We'll definitely have some arrangements which will be of a longer term kind of nature.
And will there be many customers for these products, or there will be only one or two such customers in taking a large quantity?
No, there will be more than one definitely.
Sorry, sir, I didn't get you, sir. Please repeat.
But there are not many players, but there will be a few players in this.
3 to 4 such customers, right?
Yes.
Sir, I was seeking more clarity. Sir, I'm saying that will there be 3 to 4 customers for that product?
No, basically there are a few players in that, so we'll see for how many customers we are able to, we'll be tying up.
And sir, with them, the pricing arrangement will be on the market link, spot market, and what kind of margins are you think that you will be able to enjoy in the longer term on that product, sir?
Yeah, basically some sort of a structured pricing will come into play that we are looking. So maybe some combination of market structured prices.
Sir, sorry sir, but your voice is not coming clear. There is a lot of disturbance from your line, sir.
Is it better now? No.
Yeah, so we will have a structured pricing, Rohan, and still these contracts are under discussion, so we will have more once we are able to finalize one in the next few con calls.
Okay. But sir, we are confident that in 23 for this
able to place the volume to other customers. Yeah.
Okay. And can we expect that 55 to 60% of the capacity utilization can happen for this intermediate in 23, sir?
Yeah, we would like to place 100% also. We will let you know once we reach it, sir. Everything can't be answered today.
So fine, sir. Sir, second, on this contract too, sir, you mentioned that a large part of revenue definitely will come in 23, except that maybe some small revenues may come in the current quarter.
Yes.
Sir, just wanted to understand, will it have any major impact? Because I think that we were expecting some 200 to 250 crore revenues to come in 22 from this second contract. Is there any going to be significant change in overall financial outlook for the current year? And it can be compensated by other products, the loss which we will have in a contract too, sir?
No, I think, yeah. So basically, if we are able to operate only for second half, the revenue expectation for the full year, whatever we were expecting, we will not be able to get that. So there will be some, lower revenue from the second contract for this financial year.
Fine, sir. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Naushad Chaudhary from Systematic Shares. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity again. Sir, on our Toluene chain, I wanted some clarification that if you can help us understand how much money we have spent so far on our Toluene chain and how much revenue we would have generated in FY21 from this chain, and what is the potential which we can generate from this chain now, whatever we have spent so far.
Yeah. So, sorry. Yeah. So the spend on these projects would be around, toluene chain is toluene and ethylene derivatives both put together. So the spend would be around 200 odd crores, which would have been invested from an overall basis on the project.
Yeah, and last year in total we produced 13,000 tons of nitrotoluene, and the derivatives were close to 500 tons per month. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since beginning we have spent only 200 crore rupees in this chain.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, on our beers shortfall fee, I think we have accounted around 170 crore rupees as of now cumulatively in last 4-5 quarters. So how much cash we would have received for this and by now, and is there any development or negotiation which clients want us to have on this part, or are we okay with receiving all the amounts which we had disclosed earlier?
Yeah. So we've got roughly, from the time we got the termination notice, there was a revenue which was getting accrued. So in last fiscal, 20 million was accrued, and that we have received entirely. In this fiscal, the accrual will happen as per the contract structured method. The settlement for that will happen once towards the end of the year in the last quarter itself. So till that time, we will not have any cash which will be coming in on that basis. And there are various. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are looking at things in terms of what more opportunities can be developed. But it's all, beer is a very large customer, and there could be various opportunities, but none of that is correlated with this.
Understood. Lastly, on our pharma margin, sir, if I see in last quarter we had mentioned that there was some maintenance capex cost which had impacted our margin. Plus in this quarter, if I see there is a favorable improvement in terms of caffeine prices. So given that the cost which we would have bared last quarter because of maintenance was not there in this quarter, plus there was an improvement in caffeine prices. So apart from the raw material prices or the order which you couldn't dispatch in this quarter, was there something else which had taken the pharma margin down, or?
No, I don't think. It depends on the product mix. Quarter to quarter, depending on the product orders, we keep on changing the product mix, and every product may not be manufactured in our API plant every quarter. So that can also have some impact on the overall, contribution that we generate from these products, because certain products are highly profitable, and if we make the product in particular quarter, so that quarter can go up a little bit. So it is just that aberration, in the numbers. But overall, I think we are fairly confident about what we are doing there, and we will have the growth.
Yeah, because you are not the reason of not able to being able to deliver the higher margin product. If we are not able to deliver, it would have not come to our P&L, so there won't be any impact on margin, right? Because if it is stuck at port side, then it's okay. But otherwise, if it was at our factory and we were not able to dispatch it, you won't account it in your P&L, so it won't have
so it is impact of both, basically, the product mix impact as well as.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Yogesh Patil from Reliance Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question, sir. I have a couple of questions. Sir, you have maintained the gross margins at the same level on sequential basis. Is that correct understanding? You have passed on the increase in raw material cost like benzene to customer fully, or some part of it is still remain?
Domestic customers and export customers have different, tenure by which the cost pass on happens. And in the domestic customer, it is a plus 1 month, and whereas in export, it is plus 1 quarter, depending on the contracts that we have. So there is some impact which always there is a lag of price pass-through.
Okay. And my second question is on the same line. In which segment you was more confident to pass on the cost? Is it a specialty chemical or a pharma? So why we are asking this question?
Specialty chemical, we are more confident about the pass on of the cost, whereas in pharma, there could be certain contracts which are annual in nature also.
So why we are asking this question is related to mostly operating profit margins. Is there any possibility to cross 24% line in the coming quarter? So already you have reported with 3% kind of operating profit margin. So we just wanted to check on that side. Any view color from your side?
As the raw material prices go up and the top line increases further and further, the operating margin in terms of percentage, goes down. So in terms of absolute, we can have some number, but in terms of, the percentage in correlated to the top line, it is a little bit difficult to have higher numbers with the higher raw material prices.
Okay, sir. And my second question, during the quarter, company's finance cost increased by 51% YOY, and that is in QOQ. Is this only due to forex-related losses to rupees 13 crore or some other cost is also involved?
No, this is
yes, sir.
This is purely because of the forex-related mark-to-market impact coming out of hedge accounting. So if you look at last financial year, when rupee is appreciating, there was the gain which has also been provided in a similar manner.
Okay. And sir, what are net debt levels by the end of FY 22 considering the QIP?
I guess the net debt level, it will be difficult for us to take a guess because the raw material prices seems to be moving upwards. But at constant prices, I believe the debt should be in the range of around 1,600 to 1,700 crores kind of stuff.
So this will.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Patil.
Yes.
So there's a lot of disturbance from your audio. We are unable to hear you well.
Okay. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir. It's clear. Thank you.
So, sir, that was my last question. So you mentioned 1,600 crore is a net debt, right? Am I right?
So as of March 22, that's what we're targeting, right?
Okay, fine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bobby Jairam from Falcon Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Over the past few quarters and years, you've certainly been growing, but you're constantly in need of capital. So what is your prognosis for the next few years? When will you be internally self-sufficient to fund your growth?
Hello. Yeah. So basically, this 3 years we have lined up 2,500 to 5,000 crores. So partly it will be funded by internal accruals, partly QIP and partly debt. So basically it will be based on the amount of investments. It will depend whether we will need the additional debt or. But this next 3 years are still a substantial capex more. So we'll be having an additional debt also.
Right. So in terms of becoming free cash flow, is that one of your goals, or at this point do you see a lot of opportunity and you're not thinking about that?
I think the chemical industry is showing significant growth opportunity, and because we are also totally backward integrated, and also we have very wide end use exposure, from agrochemical to engineering polymer, pigment, pharmaceutical. So amount of opportunity we see for us is tremendous, and at least we'll be continuing to be in a capex mode, and we are not looking at any free cash flow situation for next 5-7 years.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Dhruv from HDFC AMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So just one clarification. You gave the volume numbers. If I add up the individual volume numbers or even look at the NCB key product chain, I don't see a QQ, 9 to 10% volume growth, which what you commented in one of the earlier questions. So what could I be missing here?
So what we are giving is just a base, some numbers on the key capacities, but there are a lot of value-added product and a lot of downstream which comes in. So you'll have to compare all of that to get to the right number. These are only few of the entire basket of products what we have.
But this would be the upstream of it, right? So if the upstream comes, the downstream will come. So isn't it fair to compare just from the upstream level? Or that, I mean, is that not the right comparison?
No, generally comparison what we will do at the constant prices if there is any change in the top line. That's we can do at a complex, this weighted volume increase. So these are specific product volume, but when we were at the entire segment level, we kind of arrive at a number which is on a weighted basis.
Okay. So the 9 to 10% is on a weighted basis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like for instance, like in case of nitrotoluene or hydrogenation, the volume growth on a quarter-on-quarter is like 20%, 50% kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, you will have to look at even the downstreams for those and then see on the weighted basis how it adds up.
Okay, so you do a value to volume weighted based on that, and then you give a volume. Okay, this is helpful. So if you can provide this number on a consistent basis, it's very helpful just to understand, how the trend is moving. Because otherwise, these volume numbers just give us a sense, give us some sense, but not the complete sense. Because otherwise, it looks like on a QQ basis, the volumes have not grown much. Sure, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Arun Prashant from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So the first question is on recently we have seen there is a very high price of glyphosate, which is in many places, which is kind of a substitute, which could be taken as a substitute for dicamba. So because of this glyphosate high prices, are you seeing any strong demand for dicamba?
Yes, we are seeing some revival with the increase in dicamba demand compared to what was forecasted by the customers.
If you can quantify what was earlier and what is now, that would be great.
In general, they have indicated that demands have become stronger.
Okay. Fine, sir. So beside this replacement coming because of the high prices of the other replaceable products, what is the scenario right now there on the regulatory side of the dicamba, where we had earlier some challenges, especially in US market? So now how it looks like now? Is there any change or anything?
Yeah, they got the approvals, no? So I think there are no regulatory challenges.
So the question is, so the cancellation that happened because of the earlier regulatory challenges, it could also get reversed. So why do we need to find other open market? Why do we need to supply in the open market basis? Can we not go back to the same customer and ask them to take our product?
And the cancellation didn't happen because of the regulatory reason, actually. They were supposed to put up the plant to manufacture in US, and then they decided to stop the construction of the new plant. So it was nothing to do with the regulatory. It was an overall assessment what they had done, that instead of manufacturing themselves the finished agrochemical, they would like to buy that molecule from India and China. That was a strategy difference, and not connected to regulatory issues.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhijit Akella from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you so much for taking the question. Sorry, I joined the call a bit late, so please excuse me if this has been asked already, but just trying to understand the reason for the decline in other unallocable expenditure this quarter. It's down from 59-60 crores in 4Q to about 39 crores this quarter. So just wondering, is there any one-off item there, or how should we think about that going forward?
No, so there are some reduction in the operating costs which were there in the earlier phases for managing the logistics and other stuff. So those some of those costs has gone down, and we found a bit of a benchmarking of allocating couple of costs to specific segment. So that's where the changes happen.
So on a quarterly run rate basis, this is the right number to trend off of now going forward?
Going forward, we can start using this kind of numbers.
Okay, got it. And on the some of the volume numbers that were shared, like for nitrotoluenes, we said 3440 tons. Does that exclude the downstream products that are made out of?
These are only the nitrotoluene volumes, base nitrotoluene volumes, not the downstream.
Okay. Last one thing is with regard to the new projects that are getting commissioned, any sense of the turnover we expect from the major projects out of these? Like you mentioned, for example, chlorination or the Dahej phase 2, etc., CV2, etc. If you can just give us some ballpark sense of the turnover we can expect from each of these major projects.
Yeah, actually we are guided that from FY21 to FY24 about 1.7 to 2 times turnover. So from 5,000 crore turnover what we had in FY21, we are more looking around 9,000 crore turnover by FY24.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much, sir. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pratik Rangnekar from Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good evening. Thanks for taking my question. Sir, one question on the guidance that we have given of 25 to 35% growth in FY22. Now, if we are talking about some delays in the long-term contracts, then that essentially means that the base business will actually have to grow much faster. And even on an adjusted basis, we have kind of hit a run rate which is similar to 1Q20 in the spec chem business in the core if we exclude the compensation and all of that. So my question was more on, is there anything in particular which you are seeing which is driving an acceleration in growth in the core business, or how should we think about this?
No, this second and third contract, the contribution was not significant in this our guidance of 25 to 35%. So some delay in that commissioning is not going to impact much.
Guys, maybe if I can frame my question a bit better, is there anything in the underlying business, any particular segment or any particular geography or any particular customer product that you're seeing which is ramping up to drive this 25-30% growth? Because even after we covered for the low base, it is a much stronger growth compared to FY20, compared to what we have seen we've delivered.
Last year was impacted because of last year the volumes, EBITDA and PAT, both were all very impacted because of the COVID in the first half. The second half was much stronger, and we will be building on that. And we will be seeing, we are looking at most of the demand of pre-COVID has reached, and some of the segment even the demand has grown more than the pre-COVID level. So based on that, we are seeing a good volume growth possibility.
So in terms of volume trend, what is the number that you could look at this quarter, like in terms of a sustainable volume growth over FY20, if one was to look at that, not 21?
Yeah, FY21, basically, that's what we have said, 25 to 35%. So that is the overall guidance we still see.
Okay. Okay, fine. I mean, maybe I'll take that offline. So then next question that I had was on the, there's been a lot of discussion on the long-term, on the cancelled long-term contract. Maybe if you could maybe throw some light on what are the challenges that we are facing in ramping that up, because it would have been, one would have assumed that it would have been faster than what we are currently guiding for, say, FY24, because we are a large part of the intermediate capacity on that product, right? So
No, the demand of that product was impacted. So this year, it will be more of a qualification, and significant demand is expected only from the next year for this product.
Got it. So this is more like a regulatory hurdle that you guys face in terms of qualifying with the customer, and once that is done, then the ramp up will be faster. Is that the right understanding?
Yeah, and the demand itself was, impacted, and because of that, there are a lot of inventory in pipeline, accumulated inventory. That's why this FY22 demand is relatively less. More demand will come from next year.
Got it, sir. Thank you. That's all from my side. All the best.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference back to the management for closing comments.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure interacting with you over the call. Before we close the call, let me reiterate that with the execution of our planned growth objective, we look forward to driving strong value for all stakeholders associated with our industry. We thank you for taking time out and engaging with us today. We value your continued interest and support. If you have any further questions and would like to know more about the company, kindly reach out to our investor relations desk. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Aarti Industries Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining. You may now disconnect your lines.